I'm right now in a movement, and I know it's a positive movement. I know my heart mean well. I know my heart got good intentions. And regardless of the matter, the number one goal is justice for Dro. It's justice for Dro. It's blue hearts. It's powder blue don't move. It's justice for a young man, 35 years old, went through his 20s, living the life of hanging out, doing what he needs to do to enjoy his life, but still working all his life. Guess what? Still being a father.
I've lost all three of my sons. He was my last son. I've lost three sons. I just buried one 2.5 years ago. And I need justice. I need to know what happened to my son. Nobody want to get back in contact with me. People are telling me different stories. People are saying different stories of what happened. But I'm his mother. I need to know what happened.
You know that sinking feeling when you realize the story you were told doesn't quite add up, when the pieces don't fit, and every answer creates two more questions. That's exactly where we are with the Tyrone Davis Jr. case. And trust me, what's happened in the last few weeks is going to make you question everything you thought you knew about this tragedy. If you've been following along, you know we covered Tyrone's death back in December 2025, the nurse statements that contradicted the police version, and the family's outcry that something wasn't right. But what's unfolded since then? It's got messier, more emotional, and honestly, more disturbing. Before we get into it, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe to Mystora Crime, and hit that bell icon, because stories like this need your voice to keep the pressure on for answers. So let's talk about what's happened since we last discussed this case. Remember, Tyrone Davis Jr., known as DRO to his friends and family, was found gravely injured on Southwest Archer Road near the I-75 overpass in Gainesville, Florida on December 27, 2025. He died 2 days later on December 29th. The official story from Gainesville police? He jumped out of a moving vehicle. But his family, the medical staff who treated him, and thousands of people following this case online said that explanation made absolutely no sense. Fast forward to February 5th, 2026. Picture this. A grieving mother. Someone who's been searching for answers for over a month, standing before the Gainesville City Commission. Her name is Demps, Tyrone's mother, and she's not there to accept condolences or sympathy. She's demanding justice. Can you imagine the courage that takes? To stand in front of city officials, cameras rolling, knowing your pain is about to become public record, and say what needs to be said anyway? Demps told the commission something that should shake anyone paying attention. She said she's been calling around, trying to find out what happened to her son, but nobody is giving her answers. Nobody. Think about that for a second. A mother loses her son under suspicious circumstances, and the people who are supposed to provide clarity, the authorities she's supposed to trust, are giving her nothing. Mayor Harvey Ward responded by saying he'd have someone from the city manager's office speak with her.
I need to know what happened to my son. Nobody want to get back in contact with me. People are telling me different stories. People are saying different stories of what happened, but I'm his mother. I need to know what happened. And I need to know. I need somebody to give me answers on what happened to my son. I'm not saying this y'all fault, but I need to know. I want justice for my son. He came here on vacation and he died here on vacation. So I need to know. I don't care about these other people, social media, they putting all this stupid foolishness on there about me, scandalizing my name, scandalizing my son's name. If you look him up, Tyrone Lamar Davis Jr., he was loved by everybody. He was a YouTube blogger. He was a truck driver. He was an amazing man. I just had his funeral. His funeral was over 2,500 people there. So that tells you alone that he stand for something, and that was love. So again, I need to know what happened to my son. And if nobody can't help me, it's always somebody higher. I'm going to be justice for Dro until the day I die. So I need answers. And I'm not going anywhere until I get my answers, until I get my proof of what I need. Again, If you look him up, he's a lovable person. He loved everybody, and everybody loves him. So, again, I need answers. I need to know. I need to know. I need to know. I need to know. You can keep recording because you're the one that keep putting fake accusations on Facebook. So keep recording. I don't even know why you here.
Ms. Demps, if you direct, please. I'm very sorry for your loss. I can't imagine. I'm going to ask someone from the city.
He need to be removed. He does.
Ma'am, I'm going to ask someone from the city manager's office to talk with you about this. Okay.
Yes.
I'm again very, very sorry for your loss. I can't imagine. So, thank you.
Andres Molina.
Why you recording me? Because you don't want to keep making all these lies on Facebook.
Ms. Demps, please don't. Please don't.
Yeah, he ain't no relationship to my son. We scared
understand.
out. Me and my son ain't all over.
Ms. Demps, please. Yeah. All right.
But here's the thing. Promises to talk aren't the same as answers, are they? And this wasn't just a mother's emotional plea. This was a woman who had spent weeks watching the official story crumble, who had heard from hospital staff that her son's injuries didn't match the police explanation, who had to watch her son be admitted as a John Doe while his family wasn't even notified for 24 hours. Every single one of those details adds weight to her testimony. Now, while Demps was demanding answers from the city, something else was happening that completely changed the conversation. For the first time since Tyrone's death, his girlfriend Kiarra Davis, the person who was allegedly with him that night, broke her silence. Well, sort of. She didn't speak directly to the public or the media. Instead, a friend posted a statement on her behalf, and reading it, you can feel the weight of what she's carrying. Kiarra's statement said this has been the most heartbreaking thing she's ever been through. She described it as extremely difficult, overwhelming, confusing, and emotional. She's trying to grieve the love of her life, while processing that he's not here anymore. She emphasized they were inseparable, and then she said something crucial. She would never do anything to harm him or want him to lose his life. Now, when you read that, what do you feel? Is it sympathy for someone who's grieving? Or is it suspicion that she's defending herself because she knows people are pointing fingers? Because here's the reality. Kiarra's silence up until this point had already made people question her role. The family had been vocal about inconsistencies in her story. They pointed out that she didn't call 911. She wasn't with Tyrone when he was found on the side of the road. And she didn't notify anyone about what happened until the next day, when the hospital finally contacted Tyrone's family after he'd been admitted as a John Doe. So when she finally speaks and says she's grieving the love of her life, it creates this psychological tension, doesn't it? Can both things be true? Can she be devastated by his loss and still have questions hanging over her head about what really happened that night? Or is grief being used as a shield to avoid accountability? And then there's Natasha Davis, Tyrone's cousin, who has been one of the most vocal family members throughout this entire ordeal. Natasha didn't mince words. She publicly stated that the family is demanding Kiarra E. Davis be incarcerated for her role in Tyrone's death, not investigated, not questioned further.
Nobody take it personal that when I come on here, it's to address one person. I speak in general. I'm not speaking directly to you or what you said or what this and that, so don't take it personal. The movement is justice for Dro. Don't get it twisted that that's not the main goal and the main issue. So I'm not coming for nobody. I'm not only speaking of my opinion. And my opinion is, it's still Lulu. It starts with Lulu. Yes, we want to get to the bottom of it. Anybody besides Lulu that had something to do with it, yes, we want justice for my nephew.
Incarcerated. That's a massive escalation from where this case started. In the beginning, the family was asking for answers, for clarity, for someone to explain why the official story didn't match what they were being told by medical professionals. But now they're calling for someone to be locked up. What changed? Why did the family go from seeking truth to demanding justice in such a direct, pointed way? According to Natasha, it's because of the lies. She said they've been given 3 different stories by Gainesville police. 3. First, it was a slip and fall accident. Then it was that Tyrone jumped out of a moving car. And who knows what the third version was, because the family hasn't gotten consistent information about anything. Natasha put it plainly when she said they're not getting answers, just lies and more lies. She said they came asking for answers, not to accuse anyone, but because of all the contradictions and dishonesty, they now feel like this was a murder. Let that sink in. The family didn't start with accusations. They started with questions. But the way those questions were handled, the changing stories, the lack of transparency, that's what pushed them to believe something far worse happened. And here's where it gets even more frustrating for everyone involved. When journalists and advocacy groups started submitting public records requests to get more information about the case, what did they get back? A one-page incident report. 1 page. And it barely contained any details because, according to police, this is an active investigation. But how active can an investigation be when the official stance is still that this was tragic but not suspicious? You see the problem there? If it's not suspicious, why is it still being investigated? And if it is being investigated, why are they calling it not suspicious? The community isn't buying it either. There's a petition circulating online calling for a full, transparent investigation into Tyrone's death. As of early February, that petition had nearly 3,000 signatures. 3,000 people who don't even know Tyrone personally, but care enough to demand accountability. That's not just internet outrage. That's a reflection of how many people see the holes in this story and refuse to let it be swept under the rug. Meanwhile, protests continue near the area where Tyrone was found. People gather on Archer Road, holding signs, chanting for justice, refusing to let his name fade into just another unsolved mystery. And every day that passes without clear answers, the frustration grows. Because this isn't just about Tyrone anymore. It's about trust. It's about whether families can rely on the system to tell them the truth when they lose someone they love. Now, let's talk about what's swirling around on social media. Because even though these details aren't verified by official reports, they're shaping the narrative and the public perception of this case. There are claims about a cabin reservation that was allegedly made in Kiarra's name for a holiday getaway. People are asking, what happened at that cabin? Was there an argument? A confrontation? Did something go wrong there that led to what happened on Archer Road? Then there are the allegations about money. Some posts claim there was a significant financial transfer, possibly as much as $250,000. That happened in the days leading up to Tyrone's death. Now, none of this has been confirmed by police or financial records that the public has access to, but the fact that it's being discussed so widely shows how desperate people are for explanations. And that's the thing about cases like this. When official sources won't talk, when records requests come back with almost nothing, when families are told to just trust the process while being fed conflicting stories, people start filling in the gaps themselves. They piece together timelines from social media posts. They compare statements. They look for patterns. And whether those patterns are accurate or not, they become part of the story because there's a vacuum where the truth should be. Here's what we know for sure. Tyrone Davis Jr. was found severely injured on December 27, 2025. He died 2 days later. The police say he jumped from a moving vehicle, but medical staff reportedly told the family his injuries didn't match that explanation. His girlfriend, who was allegedly with him, didn't call 911 and wasn't present when he was discovered. The family wasn't notified for 24 hours. The police have given at least 3 different versions of what happened. And now, more than a month later, the family still doesn't have answers that make sense. Kiarra has now spoken, saying she's grieving and would never harm him. But the family, led by voices like Natasha and Demps, are pushing back hard, saying the inconsistencies and lies point to something much darker. The community has rallied behind them with petitions, protests, and relentless social media pressure. And still, Gainesville police maintain this is a tragic accident, not a suspicious death. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with a mother standing in front of city officials begging for answers. It leaves us with a girlfriend publicly proclaiming her innocence, while a family publicly demands her incarceration. It leaves us with a community that refuses to let the story die until the truth comes out. And it leaves us, the people watching from the outside, try and make sense of a puzzle where every piece seems to contradict the last. This case has become a psychological battleground. It's not just about forensic evidence or witness statements anymore. It's about trust, perception, and the stories we tell ourselves to make sense of tragedy. It's about how grief can look different for everyone involved, and how sometimes the people closest to a victim can have completely opposite understandings of what happened. It's about the pressure that builds when institutions fail to provide transparency, and how that pressure can explode into public demand for justice that may or may not align with what the evidence actually shows. Think about this for a second. If you were Tyrone's mother, hearing 3 different explanations for how your son died, what would you believe? If you were Kiarra, grieving someone you claim to love while the world accuses you of involvement, how would you cope? If you were a member of the Gainesville Police Department, sitting on information you can't release because of an active investigation, how would you handle the public outcry? And here's the even harder question. What if everyone is telling their version of the truth as they understand it, but those truths don't line up because trauma, fear, and grief distort memory and perception? What if the inconsistencies aren't lies, but the result of people processing an unimaginable tragedy in real time under intense scrutiny? Or what if, on the other hand, someone is lying, and the inconsistencies are breadcrumbs leading to a much darker truth that hasn't been fully uncovered yet? The psychological weight of those questions is crushing, and it's why this case refuses to fade from public consciousness. Because we're not just looking for facts. We're looking for meaning. We're looking for a narrative that makes sense of senseless loss. And when that narrative isn't provided by the people who are supposed to have the answers, we create our own. Sometimes that leads to justice. Sometimes it leads to witch hunts. And sometimes it just leads to more pain for everyone involved. So what happens next? The investigation is supposedly ongoing, but the family's patience is running out. The community's anger is building. Kiarra has broken her silence, but her words haven't quieted the questions. Demps stood before the city commission and demanded action, but whether that action will come remains to be seen. And Tyrone, the man at the center of all this, the father, the son, the friend who brought people daily motivation, he's gone. His voice is silent. And the only way he gets any semblance of justice is if the people still here refuse to let his story be forgotten or dismissed. This is where you come in. Because stories like Tyrone's don't stay in the public eye because of news cycles or official investigations. They stay alive because people like you care enough to ask questions, to share information, to demand accountability. Every time you engage with this story, every time you talk about it, share it, question it, you're keeping pressure on the people who have the power to provide real answers. So here's what I need you to think about. Do you believe Kiarra's grief is genuine, or do you think there's more she's not saying? Do you think the police are protecting someone, or are they just incompetent? Do you think Tyrone's family is right to demand incarceration, or are they letting pain cloud their judgment? Can you hold space for multiple truths, or does someone have to be lying? And most importantly, if you were in their position, any of their positions, what would you do differently? Like, comment, share, subscribe to Mystora Crime, and hit that bell icon so you never miss an update on cases like this. Your voice matters. Your questions matter. And together, we can make sure Tyrone Davis Jr.'s name isn't forgotten and that his family gets the answers they deserve. Let's keep this conversation going.